The absolute mad lads over at Harbour Masters have done it again, and this time they brought Mario Kart 64 to PC. Yep, you heard that right. After absolutely blowing minds with their jaw-dropping ports of classics like Zelda and Star Fox, these dedicated folks have now tackled one of Nintendo's most iconic racing games, Mario Kart 64. And honestly, the results are nothing short of incredible. If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s like me, Mario Kart 64 wasn't just a game. It was a weekend ritual, a guaranteed source of laughs, frustration, and intense competition. There's nothing quite like the feeling of that blue shell zipping towards you on the final lap, the roar of your friends' cheers or groans as you either clinch victory or crash spectacularly. Wario Stadium, Rainbow Road, Bowser's Castle, these aren't just tracks, they're landmarks in our childhoods. But let's be honest, if you try to play the original today, especially on actual N64 hardware, it can be a bit rough. This frame rate is a lot more choppy than you may remember. The visuals will look muddy on modern TVs, and the controls feel slippery in that weird, frustrating way. It's like you're sliding on roads coated with butter. It's charming in its own way, but it doesn't quite capture the magic that we remember. Enter Harbour Masters. This team knows what they're doing. Their previous ports of Zelda and Star Fox showed an incredible respect for the originals while boosting the performance and visuals in ways that made those games feel brand new without losing their soul. Now in Mario Kart 64, they've done something similar. The biggest and most immediate noticeable upgrade here is the frame rate. Running Mario Kart 64 at a silky smooth 60 FPS is borderline surreal. Suddenly, the game feels extremely fluid and responsive, transforming how every corner, drift, and power-up hit lands. The original's lower frame rate could sometimes throw you off just enough to make a difference in a tight race. That's completely gone now. Not only that, but this PC port supports native widescreen resolutions, higher draw distances, and a bunch of thoughtful quality of life enhancements that Nintendo's hardware just could not handle back in the day. For example, you can now see further down the tracks without pop-in, making the race feel a lot more immersive and polished. The controls just feel tighter as well. They're not changed in any way, but there is a lot less of that odd, slippery feel, which means you can actually kind of drive the way that you want instead of driving and hoping the game lets you drive how you want. One of my favorite additions is the in-game settings menu that pops up when you press escape on your keyboard. It's a solid, well-designed menu packed with options. You can tweak the resolution, switch between different anti-aliasing and texture filtering modes, and even mess with the level of detail, so if you want the highest quality models at all times, you can force that on. Multiplayer also works on this port, and this here is where this port shines. If you ever played on the original N64 with more than 2 players, you might remember how the game would start cutting corners. Some track elements would disappear, and in 4-player mode, the music would just straight up vanish, making things feel a wee bit hollow. That was Nintendo's way of kind of coping with the hardware limits of the system. But here on PC, those restrictions are completely gone. You get 4-player split screen with full music, visuals, and polish intact. It's exactly how the game was meant to be enjoyed. No compromises, just pure, chaotic racing fun with friends. That said, not everything is perfect. Of course, being a very early on in development PC port, there are going to be some bugs and quirks here and there. For example, when you're playing this in multiplayer with friends, players 3 and 4 are going to be a little bit, shall we say, twitchy? Yeah, let's go with twitchy. I think that fits pretty well. Hey, DK, you okay there, buddy? Do you need to see a doctor? What's going on? Hey, hello? You okay? One thing I noticed is that the CPU races this time around feel way easier in this port. The original AI was infamous for its rubber banding. Those sneaky moments where the CPU would inexplicably zoom past with impossible top speeds just to keep the race competitive and your blood pressure high. In this PC version, the AI behaves a lot more fairly, which is refreshing in some ways, but it might make the game feel a lot less challenging if you're used to the original's relentless pressure. In fact, I beat the 150cc mode, a mode that I'm usually awful at, on my first go on this port. Luckily, there is a harder CPU option you can toggle if you do want to crank up that difficulty and get the classic Mario Kart battle back. So, how do you get your hands on this magical port? Well, it's easier than you'd think. Just head to the Spaghetti Kart GitHub page, I've dropped the link below in the description, and download the latest release. Extract the files anywhere on your PC and run the main executable. You'll need a copy of Mario Kart 64's ROM, so make sure you have that handy. But once they've got that, just simply point the executable to your ROM file and boom, you are ready to race. No complicated setup, no weird configurations, just straight to the action. And what really excites me is how this port opens up so many possibilities. Like, if you want to relive the full 90s vibe, you can flip the frame rate back down to its original 30 FPS. You can drop the resolution to 240p if you so wish. Or you can go in the complete opposite route and crank everything up. 4K resolution, anti-aliasing, maximum draw distance, and the silky smooth frame rate. And just marvel at how good this game still looks in some ways. Granted, it does look quite dated in other ways as well. It's a game from 1997. You got to give it some slack. But this is the real magic here, though. This port doesn't just emulate a classic game, it completely reinvigorates it. It preserves the essence and charm while evolving the experience to fit with more modern expectations. For longtime fans, it'll be a beautiful trip down memory lane with all of the rough edges sanded out. And for new players, it's an accessible, gorgeous introduction to a game that truly helped define the kart racing genre. I gotta give a huge, massive shout out to Harbor Masters for making this happen. Projects like these don't just keep classic games alive, but they push them forward, showing that with a little love and dedication, old favorites can shine just as brightly today as they did decades ago. If you're even remotely a fan of Mario Kart, or just have a passing interest in it, this port is absolutely worth your time. Fire up all your controls, grab some friends, and race like it's 1997 all over again, only better. It's a fantastic experience, and I am so happy this exists.
I'm Luigi, number one.